Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStorm Acres, and obviously I'm in the studio. I'll show you how I do this. I'm wearing an apron that has wax down the front of it, and the reason it has wax down the front of it is you'll see that the wax molds leak sometimes when you go to fill them. See? In this case, there's a leak out the back of this thing, but I'll push it on there twice, and then I'll let that set for a few minutes, because right now the wax in there is molten totally, so that's not a good plan. Let's see what else I have here that I need to make more of. I was playing with these yesterday and made a stack and a half of waxes. And I only want to make waxes that I actually need today. This is a Hercules club. It was carried by the half human, half god Hercules. Or in Roman mythology, and in Greek mythology, he would have been called Heracles. Okay. I knew what you did. I guess I need to unplug that. Now that's unplugged, you can't do that again. In case you're wondering what that was, I have a Fordham grinder over there that has a foot pedal. And somebody with really big fuzzy feet stepped on it and turned it on. Yes, you did. It took me a minute to even figure out what the heck that sound was. Fortunately, when it's not in use, it's set up so that the grinding piece is not where it's going to hurt anything. But I hadn't thought of that as an issue. Now I have. Anyway, back to waxes. So this is a Hercules club. And again, I hold this like this. Squeeze, push. I'm pushing it onto this. When I compress this piece in the nozzle in the center, it squirts wax out. Thumping it a couple times because that helps to get the air bubbles, if there are any, out. Not every cast will come out correctly. This is one of my major projects that I'm working on right now. It's a medallion. This one really squirts. I normally would remake a mold that squirts as much as this one does, but this is a limited use project, so I don't need to. I do have some older molds right now that are in need of replacement, and I am in the process of working on that. This is a bottle opener that I was casting yesterday, and I was having great luck with it. This is a difficult to use mold because it's a very three-dimensional piece, and the more three-dimensional a piece is, and this has got all kinds of weird undercuts and overcuts, and it's fussy. So, and it's big in terms of needing a lot of wax in it. So, and what I do is I just run through all of the molds that I need to make new waxes out of. And I'll do that until I run out of mold clamps. There are much fancier ways of doing this than what I have. You will see I get this wax on myself sometimes. It's not a problem usually if you only get a small amount. If you get a direct heavy squirt of this stuff, it can hurt because it's hot. It's not usually enough to give you a blister. I have had waxes that were hot enough to give you a blister, and one of the reasons I'm careful about wearing an apron is that I was wearing just a t-shirt on top one time out here. Didn't remember to put my apron on. And it was summertime, so it was a lightweight t-shirt. And the wax squirted right onto the front of my t-shirt, on my stomach, and actually stuck the t-shirt to my skin. So that's kind of like, ow, that hurt. That really hurt. It did not really blister, but it was uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable. So I try not to do things like that. Yeah, just a good idea. Not to do things like that. Now there is a mold that I need to locate because I know that I have a different, I'm watching the boy. He's got a stick, that's okay. Stick is legal. I know that there is a mold here that I need to find. This is a bodkin, which is kind of like a needle, except it's not sharp, and it's used for threading cord through eyelets and dresses and doublets and things like that. For dressing yourself, because they didn't use zippers and they didn't have Velcro. So they had to come up with other ways to do it, and lacing is a very common way, and this helps with your lacing. So I'm just going to do this until I've run out of frames. Let's see. Where is... I was working on a different project yesterday. Are you having fun with that? Is that your big stick? Let me check to make sure that's a big stick. Is that your big stick? No, it's not. That is not a stick at all. That's not cool, dude. You had your head stuck in a box. I don't mind you chewing up sticks. I mind you chewing up plastic. I suspect I know what that is. I'm sure I can order a replacement for it. We were a very, very good boy in here yesterday. We laid down and took a nap. Today we are being a challenge. Everywhere we are, we want to chew on something. And he has a really cool bone up at the house, so it's not like we don't give him cool bones to play with. Let's see here. This is one of those that I've been wanting to cast, but I have to come up with a better solution because I don't think this one will fill correctly. It's a hairpin, and it has a duck on top, which is very cool. Very typically Roman. But I don't think I've been able to get this one to cast before. I have to come up with some solutions to some of these, and some of them, what I'll probably wind up doing, like I have one over here. Let's see. Is this it? Nope. I know it's right over here, but I have to find it. Nope. Yeah, that one. This is also a bird, and it's the bird that goes on top of it's a duck. This is another duck. It goes on top of a hairpin. It would have been a lady's hairpin, but made out of either bronze or silver. And it's a very cool little duck. What I need to do is create a way to... Okay, that is why I have hearing protection on. What I'm looking for is I have this section here is called Things in Progress. In other words, I'm working on trying to improve molds or figure out stuff. The one that I just did here, that one, is a duck that should go on the top of a hairpin. And what I will probably wind up doing is making a new mold of that that would give me a place to stick a piece of very straight, nice silver wire into the bottom of it to create the stem of the hairpin. I have not been able to get that to cast properly in the past. It is not clear to me how some of the originals were made. Sometimes, you know, we get something that's pretty corroded and you're not sure whether something was cast in one piece or cast in multiple pieces and somehow soldered together or something like that. So a lot of the things we're trying to do, we're trying to create things that look like a certain object, and the object was not actually created the way we're doing it. So we're casting pieces that are finished objects, whereas maybe they use stamps and files and other things to actually alter the design on the object. But I mean, I could tell that by looking at the pictures of the originals, but we're trying to create a perfect copy. So you try not to have to do that sort of thing because of two reasons. One, people want a perfect copy. They don't want your approximate copy. And the other reason is that you're trying to simplify the process of casting and producing. So you want it to come out ready to go. It's the best way to do it, to say it. Just totally ready to go. And if you have to do a lot of work to it, it means that, hey, get out of there. Get your nose out of there. What do you have now? Jeez Louise, dog. Now you're getting into, no, you cannot get into that. That is totally no. Out, out, out. He's getting to a glass bat. Move! Which is insulation for... Oh, you're a pain in patootie today, young man. I tried leaving him with Henry party yesterday afternoon because he'd already been down here a lot in the morning. And he did super good in the morning. He was an awesome little boy. He just took a nap. He chilled. He was great. Well, he was terrible for Henry yesterday afternoon. And I have some projects I have to get done. So, he's got to be with me this morning, which is where he should be. But he's being very naughty and very wiggly. And that's not helpful because I need to get work done. Okay, so if I go back to the original molds that I found back here, they are now cool enough that the wax is hardened completely. You see, it's darker when it's hot, and it gets lighter when it cools off. I'll break off the pieces of wax. I don't have to do that, but I tend to do that for sanitation reasons, and put them into a bowl where they stay clean. Then I can peel out this medallion and check it to see how well it cast. And the answer is meh. The answer is okay. I'd have to repair it though in order to maybe use it. I'll set it aside and I will cast it again, and hopefully this time, next time around, it will come out better. Because I'm trying not to do too much repair on each and every wax before I cast it up. Okay, let's try that again. Now that time I did get some squirted on my hand, but it wasn't particularly annoying. Sometimes it just seems like, even though the temperature says it's the same temperature, sometimes it seems to get you worse than others. This guy is probably a Hercules Club. It is. So you can see the wax in there. And the Hercules Club is actually a pendant. So I have to make sure the loop is intact. The loop did not come out really well on this one. But how did the design come out? The design came out okay. Because there's actually a pattern, a teardrop shaped pattern on this. I probably will just toss this one back in there. The waxes that are over here will be reused. The next time I open this machine up, I will simply stick those in there. They will melt again. That's why I'm putting them into a bowl to keep them clean. I don't want them to acquire dog hair, dust, dirt, anything. Let's try that again. Let's see. And sometimes it goes perfectly. You just, every single one that comes out is perfect. Sometimes it's not. Okay, here's the little cross I was telling you about. Pop that open. Okay. To nibble off that little piece of extra wax, which is fine. Same thing up here. But you can see that this is going to be the loop at the top of the cross. I'll drill that out once it's actually cast. This is the front of the cross. It these dots here can actually be enameled, and I do, when I cast these in silver or bronze, I do enamel them. When I cast them in pewter, I do not enamel them, because pewter cannot be enameled with true enamel, because the pewter I am using melts at about 600 degrees or a little less, and the enamel melts at about 1300 degrees. So, yeah. On the other hand, I can easily I'm going to have to put a piece of cardboard on that. That is being very annoying. There we go. Let's see, I was talking about enamel. Okay. The pewter melts at about 600 degrees. The enamel melts at about 1300 degrees. Silver, sterling silver, depending on your alloy, is going to be about 1800. The dog is back in his bed. Yes. And bronze is about 2000. So obviously I can enamel those things that do not melt when I stick them in the kiln to enamel them. Okay, this is another cross. This is a very cool one. We call this the ubiquitous cross because I've been finding it in museums all over Northern Europe. And I forget the date on it. I can look it up. It's late period, but it's double-sided. And I actually have an original one. They're super common. And it is the original I have is enameled. So I make these. I have to clean up the wax obviously a little bit. It's got some bits and pieces on it, but it's got a ring here that's cast into it, and it is double-sided, so the enamel is in those depressions on both sides of the piece when it is cast. And this is extra here. This is just part of the casting process. So that gets cut off. And then this piece here gets put into a mold. But I have a box that I can put this into to keep it. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping track of how many of various designs I make. And when I get enough, then I stop making that design and I'll set it aside, or I'll put it back in its box depending on what I need to do with it. And by doing this over and over and over and over, this is my bottle opener, I wind up with a ton of waxes. This is a very popular item, and I actually haven't had it in the shop for a couple of years because I always ran out of time before a show to get it done. But here we are, it's Odin the bottle opener. This is an old mold, so it's very messy. I made a couple of these because I've used the mold so heavily over the years. And this one leaks around the edges, so you have to break all that stuff out. Just not ideal, however, I'll take it for now. I'm actually hoping to have some of these at my next event because, like I say, they have big sellers. Now, the two spots I have to watch out for on this is this, which is actually the tang that's used to pry up beer bottle lids, and this area here, and I could see it did not cast well. So that's a no-go. And that happens especially the first time on a large mold that I put wax into it. The mold is going to be room temperature, which in this case is probably, I'm guessing, 58, 60 degrees in here. So that means the wax will harden faster than maybe it should. So like when I go back to this first mold here, this has been cast in previously today. This is the medallion that I can't show you because it's a custom job. But when I pop it, possible that I got a better mold this time because the mold was warmer.